We're in the company of regional correspondent Bastien Renouil. We're going to also go now to Khartoum and join activist Khalid Ali. Thank you for speaking with us here on France 24.
Good to be here.
You're near the airport. Is that where you're staying right now?
No, I actually made my way out of my residence and I went to a place that I believe is safer now.
Are you hearing
Slightly out
gunfire
of
at
the.
this hour?
Yes, yes, there is gunfire. Like 10, 15 minutes ago, there was heavy artillery.
The ceasefire was due to go into effect some 10, 12 minutes ago. What are your hopes?
Yeah, correct. We heard, or there are news that there's an agreed ceasefire that starts this evening and goes for 24 hours. However, the the firing, the bombing continued until 10, 15 minutes ago. It's important that this ceasefire holds because there are civilians trapped in office buildings, corporate parks, and a few schools in downtown Khartoum. It is critical that these safe corridors are open so that also the wounded can be evacuated to medical facilities and the dead can be buried. It is very important that the international community and international media focuses on this and makes sure that this ceasefire holds because the health situation is, medical services and health services situation is critical. There are news of many people who've been wounded because of the continuous bombardment and shelling and haven't been able to get to medical facilities.
Can you describe for us, Khalid, what it was like, that journey from when you went out and went from the area near the airport to where you are now? What did it look like?
It was a very calculated move. We had to do it because last night the Sudanese army announced that they are deploying foot soldiers to basically, in their language, clean up the area around the airport. And to me, that meant street fights, possible street fights. And, I live pretty close to the airport. I did not want to be in the vicinity of that area. We had to go in a different direction from where we're heading to stay as far away from the airport vicinity itself, and then drove maybe for 10, 15 minutes. We took the longest route possible, but it was primarily inside neighborhoods, populated neighborhoods, we observed lesser presence of either SAF or RSF. My other observation is within these neighborhoods that we drove through, that there's a resemblance of a normal or a semi-normal life. People are out on the street, not normal foot traffic, but a few shops were open, some bakeries were open. People were trying to fill containers with water, and driving through these neighborhoods was somewhat safe. We were able to get to our destination safely. It was just a longer drive.
So it depends what neighborhood you're in, effectively.
Exactly. The areas closer to the airport vicinity and the neighborhoods closer to strongholds of the RSF. I mean, one thing that is interesting to observe here is that RSF has many of its campuses inside neighborhoods, inside residential neighborhoods. And I think this is done intentionally. I mean, many of their camps are within residential neighborhoods. So aside from the places where those RSF camps are, or the airport, or the main roads that lead to either any of that, the rest of the area was somewhat safe, or it felt safe at least.
Bastien Renouil, listening to Khalid Ali, it's a reminder that Sudan is a nation that ever since the ouster of Omar al-Bashir and the attempts to try to bring about civilian rule, the country's had effectively two rival armies.
Yeah, of course. Unofficial army and the rapid support forces. Both men, Hemeti and Burhan, was in charge of leading the transition to democracy in Sudan in 2019 after the revolution and the fall of Omar al-Bashir. But since then, there have been growing tensions between the two men. They both wanted to show that they were the man in charge and that they will be the one lasting the longest time possible. Because it was clear from the beginning that none of them was willing to leave the power to civilians. You know, the military has been very powerful under Omar al-Bashir for 30 years, so why would they leave the power to civilians? And so these tensions grew during the past years, and especially during the past months. There was, under international pressures, some attempts to negotiate between the military and the civilians to organize a new transitional agreement. And one of the key points in this agreement was the demobilization of the RSF, the integration of the RSF, into the army. And it was impossible for Hemeti and Burhan to agree on the process, to agree on who should lead this process, on what should be the conditions for this process. And maybe that's what led to the fighting that we see today. And maybe that's also why it's very difficult to imagine a ceasefire for now, even if it's much needed for the civilians and for the people of Khartoum. And if I may ask a question to Khalid, if he's still with us, I know that during the past days, during Iftar, there was not a ceasefire, but it was a bit more quiet when people were breaking fast. And when I say people, I mean also the soldiers. So is it a time that people can use to go out, to get water, to get food, or do they have to shelter and stay inside their homes?
Yes, I can hear you. My sense is, as soon as the sun goes down, it is safer to be indoors. I think this is the time that also the troops on the ground used to change their positions, because if you listen carefully to the air bombardment and the anti-craft that goes off after the period of iftar, you realize that the sound is coming from a different place.
It's coming from a different place. Khalid Ali, these bombardments, again, we were talking 24 hours ago about together about conflicting claims of who's flying the planes and what's being bombarded.
Correct. I think it's the armed forces that's flying the planes. I don't think RSF has access to fighter jets, not to my knowledge. And yeah, it's been pretty loud when they scramble these fighter jets.
Khalid Ali, we want to thank you so much for joining us live from Khartoum. We wish you all the best and safety to you and yours. Bastien Renouil, our regional correspondent, reporting there from Nairobi. Thanks as well.